And welcome back to another Facebook Friday. Once again, I'm Dr. Alan Scoyk, and I'm joined by Dr. Botros, and we're here at the Chiropractic Company in Glendale. Now, over the past week, it's been a little toasty here in Milwaukee, and so we thought that it would be a good idea to talk about some issues associated with heat. Now, we know that we've just started to get a taste of it, and we've had some upper 80s, maybe low 90s. Realistically, we know most years it's gonna get hotter. So we want to take proper precautions to make sure that we're under control and that we're not causing more issues to our body while being in the heat. So when we look at different characteristics, there's three real levels of problems that are caused by heat. The first one being heat cramps. This is kind of the borderline, baseline, starting off of issues. Your body's starting to have some problems, and it'll create a cramping. Second one is heat exhaustion, and the third one is heat stroke. Now we'll talk about some of the characteristics of heat exhaustion and heat stroke in just a second, but there's some real easy ways for us to prevent these issues from happening in the beginning. Dr. Botros, talk to us a little bit about that.
Okay, so one thing that you can do, of course, very important, is stay hydrated. Okay, especially if you know you're going to be spending a decent amount of time under the sunlight and in the afternoon when the sun tends to be most direct and intense, you want to be getting in water. Now, usually what they say is if you feel thirsty, you're already pretty dehydrated. So don't wait till you start feeling thirsty to start, drinking the water. Generally speaking too, I tend to push away from the Gatorades and those sugary, high-loaded electrolyte drinks. There are, different beverages that will have the electrolytes to replace that if you're sweating a lot. But a simple thing you can do is if you're going to be spending a decent amount outside, let's say for work or for doing some yard activities or just spending some time on the beach, is you want to make sure you're drinking plenty of water. So you can actually grab a nice, water bottle that you can carry with you and just kind of take like a little break to drink some water even if you're not feeling thirsty. If you know that you're going to be spending a lot of time in the sun, of course try to get a break, go somewhere where you can get some shade or some AC just to help you calm down and not lose those fluids as fast as well.
Absolutely, really important, and that's really one of the first characteristics and first management techniques that we can do, especially associated with the heat cramps. Once again, cramping, just simply the muscles are contracting, usually associated with a little bit more heavy activity, but once again, getting out of that situation, cooling off, goes a long way with stopping the progression. Because unfortunately, as our body continues to have issues with heat cramping, then we can move into heat exhaustion. And unfortunately, heat exhaustion is a little bit more severe and can actually cause some body damage. We start having issues that are things like heavier sweating. Your body will feel cold because of all the excess sweat and water that it's getting rid of. You'll have a faster pulse as your body's heart rate moves to, once again, try to cool itself down with getting some of the blood to extremities. You'll have some potential for dizziness or fainting or headaches, even in some circumstances, nausea or even vomiting. And so at a certain point, once again, we need to continue to replenish these. Prevention is obviously the best method, but continuing to replenish with cool, cold water can really help stop it at that heat exhaustion point. If you're wearing tight, heavy, constrictive clothing, create some space so that there's some airflow in there. If you have the opportunity to get water onto your clothing, that'll also help to whisk out some of that heat. As the water evaporates, it pulls some of the heat away from your body and will help with that kind of sweating process on its own. Now at this stage, like I said, there is some damage that can occur. So if you get to this stage and you are experiencing some vomiting, if you are experiencing dizziness or pass out, this is time to call a doctor. There's some other underlying health issues, like I said, that can occur. And once you get to that stage, it's important to get it checked out at that point. If this continues to progress, once again, we really don't want that to happen because you'll lead yourself into heat stroke. Now, at this point, your body starts to change some of its mechanisms. It can no longer sweat properly a lot of times. Your body temperature will get up to about 103 degrees, and we start cooking proteins in our body and our brain at that point. We, once again, don't want that to happen. We start ending up having other issues where, like I said, your body's racing heart causes more problems. You can't get rid of the heat, and your body's doing everything it can to try, but it's just unable. At this point, once again, really it's not a matter of self-management at this point. This is the opportunity to call 911. This is the opportunity to get some professionals in that can cool you down. If you notice someone else that's experiencing heat stroke where they have passed out, or they have lots of confusion, or they're starting to lose consciousness, get that person out of the sun, get them into some shade, start to get them into a cooler opportunity, get them water on them, get them drinking if they can. But once again, try not to give them too much to drink. Their body will now start to reject it at this point. So if you can cover them with water, much better. Cool bath is much preferred than actually giving these patients water to drink. Once again, at this stage, professionals need to be brought in to manage this. Go ahead.
One hallmark as well with heat stroke, and so hopefully this is something that you don't have to ever deal with, but if you notice that the temperature is hot and you're no longer sweating, that's a really good indicator that it might be time to call the professionals and get that medically assessed. Your body doesn't even have enough water to sweat anymore, and so that's where we start going into that red zone, and it's really important, like Dr. Van Scoyk said, get yourself hydrated, have someone near you if you can, and get medical attention right away.
Yeah, and unfortunately the last issue that we see is not nearly as severe, but we do see it in our office quite a bit, and that's just simple sunburn. Simple things, once again, we don't always get the opportunity to be out in the sun very often, and so when we do finally get out to be in the sun, it's important to take proper care of your skin. We all know, once again, we talked about in previous episodes, different cancers that happen to your body. Skin cancer is unfortunately a very common issue. So if we can manage some of that skin volume, or some of the sun volume that we're getting on our skin, that'll go a long way to help protect us as well. So in the next couple days, when it's nice and sunny outside and it's nice and warm, you all need to be safe. So from myself and Dr. Botros, if you have questions about this, once again, feel free to contact a professional as far as your primary medical professional. You can talk to us about it. If you do know someone that is having heat stroke, call 911 immediately. Don't question it, just get it done. You could end up saving that person's life. So until next Friday, once again, I'm Dr. Van Scoyk and Dr. Botros. We'll see you next Friday.